Tonight, let the day loosen its grip. Let the last bright thoughts of work and errands soften, like footprints filling with wind-blown sand. If your shoulders are still holding the shape of the day, you can let them drop a little, just a little, as if the night is placing a warm hand there, reminding you that you do not have to carry everything at once. Take a slow breath in, and as you exhale, imagine a wide, open sky, dark velvet stretched over a world that has finally stopped rushing. There is a kind of wisdom that arrives when nothing demands your attention. Not the wisdom that argues or proves or pushes. The quiet kind, the kind that simply notices, the kind that remembers. Ancient Egypt, they say, built the pyramids. And yes, stone rose into geometry, and geometry rose into awe. But in the hush between facts and wonder, there is another achievement, one that doesn't shimmer in postcards or headlines. It was remembering how to do the thing again. Any civilization can make a miracle once. The gentle miracle is keeping the knowledge alive, so the next hands do not have to start from zero, so the next hearts do not have to guess in the dark. History is filled with lost techniques and vanished skills, like songs whose melodies dissolve because no one sang them softly enough to last. And perhaps you know this feeling in your own everyday way. A recipe that changes when the quiet one more pinch is forgotten. A family story that fades when no one tells it. A habit of kindness that needs to be practiced. Memory is not only in libraries, it's in the small rituals of our lives. Notes on a fridge, a calendar reminder, a gentle message saved for later, a sentence you whisper to yourself when the world feels too fast. And if you've ever felt the tender pressure of your own memory, trying to keep promises, trying to keep names, trying to keep the meaning of your days from slipping away, you already understand why remembering can feel like an act of love. So tonight we won't chase drama. We won't hunt for arguments. We will walk slowly into an ancient night, guided by a figure who was not worshipped for conquest, but for clarity. A keeper of measures, a listener to cycles, a scribe of the cosmos. His name, in the soft breath of old stories, is Thoth. If you like, you can picture him not as a distant god carved in rigid stone, but as an idea made gentle, an awareness that watches without judging, a presence that holds a stylus not like a weapon, but like a candle. And as we begin, there is a question you can let drift through you without effort, without needing an answer right away. Do you often lose sleep thinking about the past, the present, or the future? You don't have to solve it. Just notice what it brings up, like ripples on a dark river. Then let the river keep moving, because the story we're entering is not only about Egypt, it's about the human wish to keep something true and the quiet relief of realizing you don't have to keep it all alone. Before we drift deeper into tonight's gentle journey, remember to subscribe to Ancient Sleep Story. Here, you'll always find peaceful stories that soothe the heart and quiet the mind. Where are you listening from tonight? Leave a comment. Your presence adds warmth to this quiet corner of the night. Here, no one rests alone. Every story from the past is a soft lantern in the dark, gently lighting our way tonight. If tonight's story reminds you of a beautiful memory, maybe a night drive, a childhood book, a place you once felt safe, feel free to share it below. And if this story brings you calm, you can leave a gentle comment for yourself. Now, let the night deepen. Long before cities learned the sound of their own names, before lamps glowed in windows, before the Nile reflected temple columns in tidy lines, the Egyptians imagined a beginning that did not explode, They imagined a beginning that waited. They called it none, not just water, not a sea you could sail, but the idea of water, endless, dark, patient, a place where everything was still possible and nothing had decided what it would be. If you close your eyes, you can almost feel it. A cool, boundless hush. No edges, no landmarks, no clock hands, only a gentle, unformed presence, like a dream before it becomes an image. In that mythic quiet, creation did not arrive with thunder. It arrived the way a thought arrives when you finally stop forcing it. Slowly, softly, as if the universe simply noticed itself. First, light learned to separate from darkness. Not in a battle, but in a calm distinction, like the moment you can tell where the horizon ends and the sky begins. Then boundaries appeared. Above and below, land and water, the rhythm of return. And with each boundary, time began to feel like something you could count. A day, a night, a month, a season. Not yet as numbers perhaps, but as a breath that repeats. When you listen closely to repetition, it becomes soothing. The mind relaxes when it senses a pattern. It begins to trust. This, the Egyptians believed, was the heart of their world, that the cosmos had a rhythm, and that a good life was a life that learned to move with it. They had a word for that rhythm, that balance, that rightness, mat. It's difficult to translate with one tidy English word. It means truth and also harmony. It means fairness and also the way a river stays within its banks. It means the feeling you get when something inside you clicks into place and you don't have to pretend anymore. Mat is not loud, Mat is not anxious, Mat is the quiet alignment that allows everything else to rest. But even in the earliest temple stories, there is a subtle awareness. Balance is delicate, it can slip, it can be forgotten. And if it is forgotten, the world does not collapse all at once. It simply begins to fray around the edges like a fabric thinning, thread by thread, until one day it tears. So the Egyptians imagined a guardian, not a warrior with a spear, but a watcher with a pen. Thoth was the one who counted. Not to control, but to care. Not to dominate, but to preserve. They linked him to the moon, and it makes perfect sense if you think about it. The sun commands the day. It tells you what time it is, whether you agree or not. The moon, though, the moon measures the night with gentleness. It returns again and again, changing yet faithful. It does not overwhelm. It reveals just enough to guide you. If you have ever looked at moonlight on a quiet street, you know its feeling: silver patience, soft certainty. In the Egyptian imagination, that was Thoth's light. The light of observation, the light that keeps a steady record. In old carvings, he carries a small palette and a stylus. He stands not in the posture of command, but in the posture of attention. And attention, true attention, is one of the rarest comforts, because attention says, I see what is, and I will not distort it to make myself feel safer. I will not rush past it. I will simply witness. There is something healing about that, even now, especially now, when so much of modern life demands you be fast, reactive, constantly proving you are useful. In the presence of Thoth, you are allowed to be slow. You are allowed to be exact. You are allowed to be quiet. And in that quiet, the world becomes more understandable. Imagine an ancient night on the edge of the Nile before the riverbanks were lined with stone. The air is cool enough to make your skin feel awake, but not cold. A thin breeze moves through reeds with a sound like soft paper. Somewhere in the distance, a bird calls once. Then the sound dissolves and silence returns. You can smell damp earth where the river touched the shore earlier. Above you, the sky is wide and unhurried. The moon hangs there like a pale coin, steady, familiar, not asking for anything. If you listen, you might hear the water breathing against the shore. In, out, and in that steady breathing you can imagine a figure standing nearby, not quite a person, and not quite a myth, more like an idea wearing a shape. Thoth. He is not here to frighten you with mysteries. He is here to show you that the universe has a pattern, and that pattern can hold you. In the earliest stories, Thoth does not shout the world into existence. He does not swing a sword. He does not demand applause. He begins by counting 1, 2, 3, not as a test, as a lullaby, as if each number is a small stone placed gently on the ground, marking a path through darkness. Because if you can count, you can return. If you can measure, you can predict. If you can write, you can remember. And if you can remember, you can pass peace forward. That is the promise at the center of this story. Not that life will be perfect, but that it can be held softly, faithfully, through time. In a moment, we will follow Thoth closer, into the places where knowledge was kept like a flame in a sheltered lamp. Temple courtyards washed in moonlight, quiet rooms where papyrus waited, and the first gentle tools humans used to bring order into their days. But for now, just linger here at the edge of none. Let the darkness be kind. Let the water be patient. Let your breath find its own slow rhythm. And when you are ready, when your mind feels a little less tight, a little more spacious, we will take the next step and begin to listen to the first measurements of time itself, very, very slowly now. The night remains wide, and in that width your thoughts don't have to stand up straight. They can recline, they can drift, they can soften into the background like distant lights on a shoreline. If you're listening from a room that still holds the day, laundry baskets, half-finished plans, a phone that knows too much, just let all of that fade into a gentle blur. Tonight, we're stepping into a place where the world is simpler. Not because it is less intelligent, but because it is less crowded. Imagine the Nile again, not as a postcard, not as an ancient wonder, but as a living presence, dark water under moonlight, moving with a slow confidence. The air above it is cool and sweet with damp earth. The reeds sway with a soft rustle. Somewhere, a small insect hums, then disappears into silence, as if even it has remembered to be quiet. Along the riverbank, a low path of packed earth leads toward a temple. The temple is not loud, it does not flash, it does not announce itself with neon certainty. It sits there with the patience of stone that has learned to wait. Its walls are pale in the moonlight, and the carvings look softer at night, as if the figures are sleeping, their stories tucked into the grooves like folded linen. You walk slowly, not rushing, not performing, and with each step you can feel the gentle shift of your own body. Shoulders easing, jaw releasing, breath deepening without effort. At the entrance, there is no guard with a shout, only stillness and a sense of being welcomed into a quieter kind of knowing. In the temple courtyard, the moonlight falls in wide rectangles shaped by pillars. The pillars stand like calm companions, holding up the sky in their own way. The stone beneath your feet is cool. It holds the day's warmth faintly, but mostly it feels like night, steady, clean, grounded. And here, in this calm geometry, you might sense what the Egyptians meant when they spoke of order, not control. Order as comfort, order as a way to keep the world from feeling like it's slipping through your fingers. They believed the cosmos was not meant to be chaotic. It had a proper rhythm, like a well-loved song. The sun rose, the sun set, the stars turned, the river swelled and retreated, crops grew, were gathered, and the earth rested again. Life was a circle, and circles, when you allow them to be circles, can feel soothing. If you've ever found yourself calmer when you have a routine, coffee in the same mug, the same walk, the same playlist, then you already understand the ancient instinct. Repetition, when it is gentle, can be a kind of mercy, but repetition also needs watching, because human minds are forgetful, days blur, years slip. And when the Nile did not arrive as expected, the price was not abstract, it was hunger, it was uncertainty, it was the tightness in the chest that comes when you cannot predict what tomorrow will bring. So the Egyptians watched, they watched the river, they watched the sky, they watched the moon's slow change, and they wrote it down, not as an obsession, but as a promise to their future selves, a promise to the next generation, a promise that the world could be understood enough to be lived in. In this courtyard, you can imagine a small figure crossing from shadow to moonlight, not hurried, not dramatic, just present, Thoth. In the story world, he is not a person you have to worship loudly. He is a presence that invites you to notice, a calm mind with a stylus, a gentle witness who turns observation into memory. He looks up at the moon, and in his gaze, the moon becomes more than beauty. It becomes measure, because the moon does something quietly miraculous. It returns, but not exactly the same. It waxes, it wanes, it disappears, it comes back. It teaches the mind that change does not always mean loss. Sometimes change is simply the shape of return. In the temple's shadowed side rooms, there is a place the Egyptians called the House of Life. It sounds poetic, and it is, but it was also practical. It was where scribes studied, copied texts, and kept knowledge alive. A place where medicine, rituals, and records were preserved, not as museum pieces, but as living tools. Picture it. A long room lit by small oil lamps. The lamps do not flood the space with light. They create islands of glow. The walls hold shelves and bundles. The air smells faintly of reeds and ink, warm stone and dried papyrus. There is a hush here, an attentive hush, like a library late at night when the world outside is sleeping. A scribe sits at a low table, not a king, not a warrior, just someone with steady hands. He dips a reed pen into ink and you can almost hear it, a soft tap. Then the faint whisper of the pen moving. The papyrus takes the ink the way sand takes footsteps, quietly but permanently. He is copying something that matters. Maybe it's a hymn. Maybe it's a list of offerings. Maybe it's a record of the river's height. In any case, he is doing something deeply human. He is refusing to let meaning disappear. And you might feel in your chest how tender that is. Because isn't that what we do too? We write a note to remember what we promised ourselves. We save a photo because the moment felt too precious to lose. We keep a letter, we mark a date, we store a voice message. We create little anchors so life doesn't float away. The Egyptians did this on a grand scale, yes, but the emotion beneath it is simple and familiar. It's the desire to keep life from becoming only a blur. Now, just beyond the temple rooms, closer to the river, there is another quiet structure, sometimes built into stone, sometimes marked with careful lines, a nilometer. It's a measuring place for the Nile, a set of steps or a pillar with markings, used to read the water level. It sounds technical, but in the night it becomes almost meditative. Imagine standing there in moonlight with the water dark below. The stone steps descend. Each step is a small statement. The world can be observed, the world can be known, and knowing can calm fear. A watcher comes at night or early morning, someone whose job is simply to look, to notice, to record. He doesn't argue with the river, he doesn't command it. He reads it like you might read a mood on a loved one's face. High water, low water, a change, a hint. and then he writes it down. This is where Thoth lives in the story, not only in myth, but in the practice of recording. Because in Egypt, measuring wasn't cold, measuring was caring. It was maintenance as love, a gentle habit repeated so the world could keep working. If you let your mind rest on that phrase, maintenance as love, you might feel something unclench. Because modern life often tells you that love must be dramatic, that it must be proven with fireworks and speeches. But the quiet truth is that much of love is simply tending, refilling the water glass, checking on someone, paying attention, writing down what matters. And the ancient Egyptians, in their own way, built a civilization on tending. They tended the river with canals and careful observation. They tended their seasons with calendars. They tended their knowledge with copying. They tended their inner lives with the idea of ma'at, balance, truth, the lightness that lets you pass through the world without crushing yourself. And above all, they tended time. Time to them was not just minutes and deadlines, it was a sacred pattern. Something to align with. They had different ways of feeling time, layered like soft cloth. There was the daily rhythm, sunrise to sunset, the simple certainty of light and dark. There was the lunar rhythm, the moon's changing face, a quiet clock in the sky. And there was the larger seasonal rhythm, the Nile's swelling and retreat, the slow inhale and exhale that determined when the land could drink and when it needed rest. At certain times of the year, one particular star mattered deeply. They watched for it not with fear, but with reverence. A bright point returning in the early dawn, appearing after a period of absence. Its return whispered that the flood season was near. It was like a celestial reminder that life would begin again, as it always had. You don't have to remember the star's name tonight. Just remember the feeling, the relief of a signal, the comfort of a cycle. And perhaps you can let yourself feel that comfort now, because you too have cycles. You have seasons of energy and seasons of weariness. You have mornings that feel clear and nights that feel heavy. And if you've been hard on yourself for not being consistent, you can let that soften. Even the moon changes shape. Even the river rises and falls. A life that moves is not a life that is broken. In the house of life, the scribe lifts his eyes from the page. Outside, the courtyard is quiet. The moonlight has shifted slightly, so slowly you wouldn't notice unless you were paying attention. A cat moves along the edge of a wall, silent as smoke. Far off, the river murmurs. The scribe returns to his work. And here is a gentle thought you can hold, just for a moment. What if your mind, too, could be a house of life? Not a place where you store every worry until it becomes heavy, but a place where you keep what is true and let the rest flow out like water. What if the practice of noticing, without judging, could be enough? Thoth, in the mythic sense, is not the one who demands perfection. He is the one who writes clearly. He is the one who keeps the record clean so the truth can stand without shouting. And there is a soft kind of freedom in that. Because maybe you don't need to fix everything tonight. Maybe you only need to see yourself kindly. Maybe you only need to name what you feel and let it move. As the night deepens, Thoth steps from the courtyard toward the river path. The moon follows him, not as a spotlight, but as a companion. He is going somewhere, toward the places where time becomes practical, where calendars are built from starlight, where numbers become gentle tools, where a civilization learns to live with the river instead of against it. And you, if you'd like, can follow, not with effort, not with tension, just with a slow curiosity, like walking through a museum after closing hours, when the air is still and every artifact seems to breathe. In the next part, we'll move closer to the Nile's rhythm, its watermarks, its seasons, its quiet agreements with the people who listen to it. And along the way we'll discover something simple and beautiful, that the strongest power in a world like this is not the one that conquers, but the one that observes, records, and remembers. Some nights feel like they have no edges. They don't begin with a slam of a door or end with a sudden silence. They simply widen and widen until you realize you have been floating for a while, held up by darkness the way a river holds up moonlight. If you're still carrying the day in your forehead, you can let it smooth out now. If your jaw is still clenched around unfinished thoughts, you can let it loosen. And if your mind keeps trying to plan tomorrow, you can tell it, softly, that tomorrow will arrive whether you chase it or not. Tonight, we walk with time, not ahead of it. Outside the temple, the river path is quiet. The stone walls behind you keep the warmth of oil lamps, but ahead, closer to the water, the air grows cooler and cleaner. The scent of wet soil rises gently, as if the Nile is breathing and the land is listening. Thoth moves beside you like a calm shadow. He is not in a hurry. In the story world of this night, he doesn't need to be. The moon is doing its slow work above, and the river is doing its slow work below. Everything important is already moving at the speed it must. You might notice something comforting. When you walk slowly, the world offers more details. A small pebble glinting like a dull star, a cluster of reeds bowing together in the breeze, the faint whisper of water touching stone. Even the silence has layers, and in those layers the ancient Egyptian world begins to appear, not as a loud spectacle, but as a living rhythm. Along the bank, you see low shapes in the darkness, boats pulled up to rest, their woods smelling faintly of tar and sun. A rope creaks once, then settles. Farther inland, the land opens into fields that are sleeping now, their furrows invisible but present, like lines on a palm. And beyond the fields, scattered points of warmth, a house, a hearth, a small lamp in a doorway. People live here, ordinary people. The ones who wake before dawn, who lift water, who mend nets, who coax grain from soil. The ones history often forgets to name, but who were the true heartbeat of the river's civilization. The Nile didn't make Egypt great by being dramatic. It made Egypt possible by being reliable most of the time. And when it wasn't reliable, the fear was not philosophical, it was immediate. It lived in the stomach and in the eyes. That is why the watchers mattered. That is why the measurements mattered. That is why Thoth, this gentle symbol of observation, belongs so naturally on a night like this. Soon the path curves toward a structure close to the water. In the moonlight, it looks simple, almost humble. You might miss it if you were expecting grandeur, but it is one of the quiet engines of order, a nilometer, a place made for reading the river. Sometimes it is a staircase descending into the water, each step marked. Sometimes it is a pillar with measured lines standing where the water rises. Tonight, in our story, it is a set of stone steps tucked into a cool chamber by the river's edge, half shadow, half moonlight. And you stand at the top and look down. The steps vanish into the dark water, like a careful thought disappearing into sleep. A small lantern glows nearby, its flame steady. A watcher is here, wrapped in a simple cloak, face calm, eyes trained on the line where water meets stone. He does not speak at first. He doesn't need to. His work is quiet. Notice, compare, record. Thoth's presence makes the scene feel almost ceremonial, though no one announces it. The watcher leans forward slightly, reading the waterline like a musician reading a note. Then, with a slow movement that feels like respect, he touches a mark on the stone. Not too high, not too low. A gentle reassurance. He turns to a small board, wood, worn smooth by many hands, and with a reed pen he makes a mark, a simple line, a symbol, a number perhaps, and the moment is so ordinary and so profound. Because in that small act, uncertainty becomes information, fear becomes a record, the future becomes a little less sharp. If you like, you can take a long breath in here, quietly, as the watcher writes. And as you exhale, imagine your own thoughts being written down somewhere safe so you don't have to keep them spinning. You are allowed to rest. The Egyptians, in their way, were building rest into the structure of their days. They were saying, if we pay attention now, we will suffer less later. The watcher finishes his note and closes the board gently, like closing a book. Above, the moon continues its slow arc. And somewhere beyond the edge of your vision, the river keeps moving, unbothered, unhurried, faithful to its own nature. This is the first layer of time, the river's breath. But Egypt listened to more than water. As you walk away from the Nilometer, the sky feels larger. The stars are sharp tonight, as if the air has been polished. The darkness between them is deep and soft like velvet. Thoth looks up, and you follow his gaze. The ancients did not see the night sky as empty. They saw it as a page where the gods wrote patterns, slowly in light. And one of the most comforting patterns is the one that returns. In the far eastern edge of the sky, where dawn will eventually thin the darkness, there is a point that matters to the story of seasons. A bright star that disappears for a time, then returns in a specific way, just before sunrise, like a messenger arriving right on schedule. The Egyptians watched for it with a kind of quiet devotion. Its return was not fireworks, it was a signal, a whisper from the sky that the river's great swelling would soon come, that the land would drink, that the fields would wake. If you've ever waited for a sign that a hard season is ending, an email, a phone call, a medical result, a simple "it's going to be okay," then you already understand the feeling of watching the horizon. In Egypt, that feeling was braided into the stars. The sky was not separate from the earth. It was a companion. And Thoth, the recorder, belongs to both. He counts the days by the moon. He measures the seasons by the star. He keeps the order by helping humans notice what the world is already doing. But notice how gentle this is. No one is fighting time. No one is trying to dominate the river. They are listening, they are aligning, they are learning the soft art of living inside a pattern larger than themselves. In a small village near the fields, you pass a sleeping courtyard. A clay jar rests beside a doorway, catching the night's coolness. A dog shifts in its sleep, then settles again. Somewhere, a baby makes a tiny sound and is soothed back into silence. Life here is not about constant novelty, it is about steady return. And in the morning, when the first light comes, people will go out with baskets and tools and patient hands. They will look at the river and the sky and feel, without needing a speech, whether the world is balanced today. This is Mut living in the body, not a concept, a sensation. The Egyptians built calendars, yes. They created systems, yes. They marked months and days and festivals. But beneath all of it was a simple human hope that the world could be counted enough to be trusted. In a temple room, far from the river's damp breath, a scribe sits with a scroll. You can picture the scene: oil lamp glow, papyrus rolled open, ink dark as midnight. The scribe's hand moves slowly, not because he is inefficient, but because accuracy is a kind of reverence. He is copying a list of days, not a list meant to impress, a list meant to guide. You might imagine the year in their minds as a woven cloth. Each day is a thread. Some threads are ordinary: work, water, bread, sleep. Some threads are ceremonial: offerings, hymns, gatherings. But the cloth only holds together if the threads are placed in order, if the pattern is remembered. And when the year didn't fit perfectly, when the seasons drifted slightly, when the sun and the calendar didn't align in perfect agreement, the Egyptians found gentle ways to adjust, not with panic, with practical imagination. They added a few days at the edge of the year, extra steps on the threshold, days that felt a little outside ordinary time. You can think of them like quiet porch days. Days when the calendar takes a slow breath before beginning again. There is something comforting about that idea, isn't there? That even time itself might need a pause. That even the year can admit, I am not a machine. I am a cycle. I am close enough. I will return. If you are the kind of person who feels anxious when things aren't perfect, you can let this sink in gently. The ancient world did not demand perfect alignment to feel meaningful. It demanded attention. It demanded care. It demanded honest noticing. Thoth's gift in this story is not controlling the universe. It is helping humans stand inside it without being swallowed by it. On another scroll, perhaps, the scribe records something simpler. The height of the river, the yield of grain, the distribution of bread. Again, it sounds technical, but think of what it means. It means someone cared enough to measure fairness, to keep track, to prevent the strong from quietly taking everything while the tired and the poor go unnoticed. Record keeping in its best form is compassion with a pen. And if your mind has been worn down by modern chaos, by rules that change, by information that floods, by pressure that never fully ends, you might feel a strange relief in this ancient image, a single person in a small pool of lamplight writing slowly, making the world legible, making life possible. Thoth stands behind him, not like a supervisor, but like a quiet guardian of clarity. He does not demand speed. He does not punish mistakes with drama. He simply encourages the mind to be steady. You can borrow that steadiness now. If your thoughts are racing, you can let them slow to the speed of a reed pen. If your heart feels heavy, you can let it rest on the idea that not everything must be solved tonight. If you feel alone, you can remember, for thousands of years humans have stared at the same moon, worried about the same uncertainties, and still found ways to make gentleness. Outside, the night shifts again. The moonlight moves across the courtyard stones. A breeze brushes past the temple pillars, making the flame of a lamp tremble once, then settle. And as the scribe rolls the scroll closed, there is a soft sound, the papyrus whispering against itself. A sound so quiet it could almost be mistaken for breath. Thoth turns and you follow, and he leads you deeper into the temple, toward a hall where carved figures stand in relief, their outlines softened by shadow. In the dim light, you see symbols that repeat. Scales, a feather, a small palette, a stylus. You don't have to understand them yet. Just let them be images, calm, balanced, patient. A feather is an interesting choice for a symbol of order, not a sword, not a crown. A feather, light, almost weightless. As you pass, your eyes catch the feather's shape, and something inside you recognizes the idea before the mind names it. A lighter life moves more easily through the night. Thoth pauses as if he has heard that thought in your breathing, and somewhere ahead, just out of sight, there is a chamber where a story is kept. A story about truth that doesn't shout, about judgment that can be gentle, about a heart that is not meant to be crushed by its own burdens. We won't rush into it. We will approach it the way you approach sleep. Slowly, with trust. For now, the river's measurements and the sky's signals have done their work. The world feels less chaotic, more held. The mind begins to believe in patterns again, and when the mind believes in patterns, it can finally let go. In the next part, we will step closer to the feather and the scales, not as a threat, but as a soft discovery. A reminder that the standards that last the longest are often the lightest ones. Walk a little deeper with me now. The temple corridor narrows and the air changes the way it does when you step from an open night into a sheltered room. The breeze from the river fades. In its place, the faint smell of warm stone, lamp oil and papyrus, dry reeds pressed into sheets waiting patiently for ink. Your footsteps are quiet here, softened by dust and time. Even the sound of your breathing feels like part of the architecture, as if the building itself was designed to hold silence gently, the way cupped hands hold water. Thoth leads you without urgency. He is a presence more than a person, a calm intelligence that doesn't demand your attention, only offers it. In the dim light, you catch small glints, carved lines, polished corners, tiny traces of color tucked into stone. And then the corridor opens into a chamber that feels different. Not brighter, not louder, just strangely balanced. A room meant for weighing. In the center, you see it, a set of scales carved into relief on the wall, echoed by a real scale on a low platform, wood and bronze, simple, steady. The beam is straight, the cords hang without tangling. Everything looks prepared for honesty. On a nearby shelf rests a small object, so small it seems almost too delicate to matter. A feather. The feather of Ma'at. If you've ever found a feather on a sidewalk and picked it up without knowing why, you know its feeling. Lightness that doesn't apologize. It barely announces itself, yet it is unmistakably Lil. In Egyptian imagination, Ma'at, balance, truth, harmony, could be represented by a feather, not a jewel, not a weapon, a feather. A reminder that what lasts does not always need weight. Thoth stands near the scale, stylus in hand, and suddenly you understand something soft and surprising. This is not a room of fear. It is a room of clarity. The old stories speak of a weighing of the heart, a moment when a person's inner life is measured against the feather of Ma'at. But in the hush of this chamber, the idea changes shape. It becomes less like a courtroom and more like a mirror. Not a mirror that shames you, a mirror that simply shows you what you are carrying. Because the heart, in these stories, is not only emotion, it is memory. It is intention. It is the invisible weight of your days. It is the kindness you offered without keeping score. It is also the heaviness you picked up by accident, worry, guilt, overthinking, the habit of bracing for the worst. Sometimes we carry that heaviness so long, we forget we're carrying it at all. It becomes normal. It becomes just how I am. But often it's simply what life handed us, one grain at a time, until the pockets of the mind filled with sand. So let this chamber offer you a gentle question, not to answer out loud, only to feel. If your heart could set down one small burden tonight, what would it choose? You don't have to decide. You can simply notice what rises first. A name, a task, an old regret, a worry about tomorrow. And then, just for this moment, imagine placing it on the scale outside of you so your hands can rest. In the story, a heart is placed on one side of the scale. The feather rests on the other, and the feather is so light, so unbelievably light, that it teaches a lesson before any judgment is spoken. Life was never meant to be carried like a boulder. It was meant to be carried like breath, light enough to move, light enough to change, light enough to let you sleep. Thoth does not raise his voice. He does not threaten. He does not dramatize. He watches and he writes. This is one of the soft discoveries hidden inside the myth. The most enduring power is not the power that punishes. It is the power that observes without distortion. The observer, the recorder, the one who makes the truth stand still on a page. because so much of life blurs. Days slide into each other. Feelings change before you can name them. You try to hold on and your hands get tired. But writing, recording, counting, these are ways of saying this mattered enough to keep. In ancient Egypt, writing wasn't only a tool for progress, it was an antidote to forgetting. A roof built over meaning so it wouldn't wash away. Picture a scribe in the house of life, copying a text by lamplight. He isn't performing, he is maintaining memory. He is doing a quiet kind of love, maintenance as love, so that knowledge can survive the fragile gap between one generation and the next. If you've ever written a small note to yourself, something as simple as breathe or cool mom or you did enough, you've practiced the same tenderness. You've acted like a small Thoth for your own tired mind. In the weighing chamber, the feather waits, the scale does not rush. If you listen, you might hear the tiniest sounds, the soft settling of wood, the slow drip of oil in a lamp, the quiet exhale of your own breath. And in that stillness, the myth becomes a lullaby. It says, truth doesn't need to shout, truth only needs to be seen clearly and written down cleanly. Marked in this light is not a harsh standard. It is a gentle alignment, a reminder that the healthiest life is not the one with the most achievements, but the one that keeps returning to balance, returning again and again, like the river, like the moon, like your breath. If you've been living inside stress, rushing, proving, reacting, you might feel how radical that is. The idea that balance is not a prize at the end, but a rhythm you practice on ordinary days. And practice can be quiet, a steady bedtime, a slow walk, a glass of water, a moment of honesty with yourself, a page where you write what you're feeling, not to fix it, but to stop wrestling it in the dark. Thoth's stylus moves in your imagination now, and the sound of it is almost ASMR-like, a faint scratch, a whisper across papyrus. Not loud enough to wake you, only loud enough to reassure you that someone is keeping track, so you don't have to. Lightness doesn't mean a life without sorrow. It means a life that doesn't cling to sorrow as identity. It means you can feel deeply and still let the feeling pass. You can remember and still allow the memory to find its quiet place. You can care without letting caring become self-punishment. Maybe you've spent years believing that if you worry enough, you'll prevent bad things from happening. Many busy, thoughtful people fall into that habit. The mind thinks worry is protection, but in the long run, worry becomes a weight that keeps you from resting, like holding a suitcase even after you've arrived. So tonight, in the presence of this feather, you can try something gentler. Not stop worrying as a command, just loosen your grip by 1 degree. Let the suitcase sit beside you, let the scale hold it. Let the feather remind you that you are allowed to be lighter. The lamp flame flickers once, then steadies. The feather remains light. The scale remains patient. And Thoth, the quiet recorder, turns toward the doorway, inviting you onward. Because beyond this chamber there are other gentle rooms, the place where scribes practice the shapes of hieroglyphs, the place where papyrus is stacked like sleeping birds, the place where the act of writing becomes a nightly ritual, soft, repetitive, reassuring. In the next part, we will enter that world more fully, the house of life at night, where knowledge is copied not to impress, but to protect, where words become shelter, where the past is preserved like a warm ember you can hold without burning yourself. For now, let the feather do its work. Let it lighten you by a fraction. And if tonight's image touched something tender in you, if it reminded you of a burden you're ready to set down, feel free to share it below whenever you're ready. This corner of the night is gentle, and you don't have to rest alone. Before we leave, linger here for a few breaths. Inhale slowly, as if the air itself is being measured, gently, kindly. Exhale slowly, as if you were placing something down. The Egyptians loved images that were simple enough to remember. A feather, a scale, a pen, because the mind, when it is tired, cannot hold complicated lectures. It needs symbols the way the body needs water, small, clear, repeated. So the feather becomes a message you can carry into your own life. When you notice yourself getting heavy with should-haves, heavy with unfinished lists, heavy with thoughts that spin in circles, you can picture this room. You can picture the beam of the scale returning to center. You can picture the feather barely touching the pan, and you can ask quietly, is this worth carrying into sleep? Sometimes the answer will be yes, and that's okay. Some things truly matter, but even then you can carry them more gently. You can hold them the way you would hold a sleeping child, carefully, without gripping too tight. And sometimes the answer will be no. Sometimes you will realize you've been carrying a worry that doesn't belong to you anymore, a worry that is only a habit. That is another soft discovery. The mind can learn new habits the same way a river carves a new channel, not in one dramatic moment, but in small repetitions. This is why the scribes mattered. This is why the calendars mattered. This is why the nilometer marks mattered. Not because humans could control everything, but because they could return again and again to what was true. Over centuries, names changed and stones weathered. Yet that gentle discipline, observe, record, return to balance, kept traveling. Like moonlight, it didn't need to announce itself to be real. Tonight, you are part of that long, quiet lineage. You are a person trying to live with integrity in a noisy age. You are a person learning how to set down what is too heavy. You are a person choosing rest, which is its own kind of wisdom. If this story brought you calm, you can leave a gentle comment for yourself, just a word or two. And don't forget to subscribe for more peaceful nighttime journeys. The feather stays behind you now, resting in its quiet certainty. As you step out of that balance chamber, it feels as if something in you has shifted. Nothing dramatic, nothing sudden. Just a small loosening, like a knot that finally remembers it can untie. The corridor opens into softer air. Stone holds the night's coolness, and lamps tucked into niches glow like small, steady moons. Their light does not chase away darkness. It simply shapes it, turning shadow into something gentle, something livable. Thoth walks beside you, not ahead, not behind, as if he understands what tired minds need most, companionship without pressure. You pass carvings that look almost asleep in the low light, lotus flowers, birds mid-flight, symbols repeating like a slow refrain. Then you arrive at a doorway simpler than the others. No grand arch, no loud proclamation, just a wooden frame darkened by years of hands touching it, entering, leaving, leaving. Inside is a room that smells like reeds and time, the house of life. You might call it a library, but it is more like a workshop of memory. Knowledge isn't stored here as decoration. It is kept as nourishment, like grain saved for a season when the river runs low. The room is long and calm. Along the walls, bundles of papyrus are tied with linen cord. Some are new, pale and crisp. Some are old, yellowed, soft at the edges, as if they have been breathed on by many quiet nights. Oil lamps sit low on tables, each one making a circle of warm light. In those circles, scribes work, not hurried, not dramatic, just steady. A reed pen rests between fingers trained in patience. A small palette holds ink, one dark as wet soil, Another slightly reddish, used for headings and gentle emphasis. Papyrus lies open, waiting like a field at dawn. Listen for the smallest sounds, the faint scratch of the pen, the whisper of papyrus shifting, the soft tap of a reed dipping into ink. It's a quiet music, repetitive, comforting, like rain on a roof, like a clock that doesn't shout. And in that hush, you feel something tender. This is how a civilization keeps its promises, not by speeches, by copying, by checking, by returning. A scribe begins with a careful line. Not too thick, not too thin. He writes with the kind of attention that feels almost like prayer. Each symbol is shaped with respect, as if language is a living creature that must be handled gently. Hieroglyphs can seem like a mystery from far away, but here, in lamplight, they look like what they truly are. A system made by human hands designed to carry meaning across time. A bird, a wave, a reed, a little house, a circle. The world translated into signs, and the first soft discovery arrives warm and quiet. Writing is not only for progress, writing is for relief. Because when something is written down, it stops rattling inside you. It becomes an object you can look at, a thing with edges, a worry that can be named, a promise that can be remembered. The scribe copies a hymn, perhaps, or a list of offerings for a festival. He might be copying medical notes, a myth, a record of water and grain. The subject changes, but the deeper purpose stays the same, to keep the world from forgetting itself. Thoth stands behind the scribes with the posture of an observer. In myth, he is the divine scribe. In practice, he is the spirit of the act. The calm insistence that accuracy is kindness. Near the far wall, a young apprentice watches an older scribe's hand. The apprentice's reed pen trembles slightly, fingers still learning patience. The older scribe doesn't scold. He demonstrates again, slowly, cleanly, how to make the sign. The apprentice tries again. The line steadies. This is how knowledge travels, not through force, but through repetition. If you let your mind linger here, you can almost feel what it's like to live in that rhythm. Each night, the same lamps, the same scent of ink, the same papyrus whisper, and through that repetition, something fragile becomes strong. Hold this phrase like a warm stone, maintenance as love. In the corner, you notice a small tray of fresh reeds cut from the riverbanks, dried, trimmed at an angle. The tool began as a plant swaying in the Nile wind. Someone harvested it, someone shaped it, someone tested the tip against a scrap of papyrus until the line came out smooth. Even the ink has a story, soot from lamps, gum from trees, water mixed until it becomes a darkness that can last. And papyrus itself, once a living stem, has been pressed, layered, smoothed, fibers crossing like quiet threads in cloth. When the scribe's hand moves, you can almost feel the texture under the pen, soft resistance, then surrender like sand accepting a footprint. If you like, you can borrow this as a small bedtime practice. Imagine your own day being written onto a page, just one simple sentence. I made it through. Then imagine closing the page, gently, tying it with a cord, placing it on a shelf where it will be safe until morning. You don't have to carry the whole day into sleep. These scribes are not inventing a new universe each morning. They are tending what already exists. They are sweeping the floor of meaning. They are straightening the shelves of memory. They are repairing the roof so truth does not leak away in the rain of time. And if your life has felt messy lately, you might find comfort in that. You don't have to reinvent yourself to be okay. Sometimes the most healing thing is simply to maintain, to tidy one corner, to wash one dish, to write one sentence, to take one breath that is slower than the last. A scribe pauses, flexing his fingers. He rolls his shoulders once, slow, careful, remembering that the body also must be tended. He takes a sip of water, then returns to the page. The lamp flame bends slightly, then straightens. Outside, the courtyard is still. The moon continues its patient measurement. Inside, the ink continues its patient work. And the second soft discovery arrives like a whisper. The observer is the lasting strength. Thoth is not the one who shouts commandments into the night. He watches, records, and refuses to distort. He makes room for truth to stand without argument. This can feel like medicine for a modern mind. So much of life now pulls you into reaction, instant conclusions, endless judgments. It tells you that to be real, you must be loud. But the House of Life offers an opposite lesson. Reality does not need volume. Reality needs clarity. And clarity often comes from slowing down enough to see. If you are someone who overthinks, notice how soothing it is to imagine a mind that simply observes, not coldly, but kindly, like watching clouds pass without needing to chase them. The scribes do not wrestle with the page. They meet it. They don't force ink. They guide it. They don't argue with the symbols. They practice them. And in that practice, the mind becomes quieter. Another scribe opens a bundle and checks it against an older copy. He compares lines not to criticize, but to protect accuracy. If a symbol differs, he marks it gently, then corrects it. The correction is not dramatic. It is simply care. Imagine what that approach would feel like in your own life, to correct yourself without shame. To notice a mistake, adjust, and move on, without turning it into a story about your worth. That too is mart, balance, not punishment. In a small wooden box sit the tools of the night's work. Extra reeds, pigment, scraps of linen. Humble objects, yet powerful, the means by which time is stitched together. Because history is not only kings and monuments. History is also people who wrote things down, people who counted, people who measured, people who kept small truths from evaporating. You might feel gratitude toward unnamed hands, toward careful eyes, toward quiet evenings lit by lamps, where someone chose to preserve what mattered. Sometimes the most important thing a civilization builds is not stone. It is a habit of recording, a habit of returning to balance, a habit of choosing truth over noise. As the night deepens, scribes begin to finish. One rolls a scroll, carefully tying it with cord. Another cleans his reed pen, wiping it as if it were a fragile instrument. Lamps are lowered, not blown out abruptly. Lowered so the room transitions into darkness without shock. Thoth watches the transition with approval. He is the guardian of gentle shifts, moon phases, calendar adjustments, the slow movement from wakefulness to sleep. And in you, something begins to mirror that same transition. Thoughts lengthen and slow. The body grows pleasantly heavy, like a blanket settling. Breath becomes less interested in effort. Thoth turns toward a smaller side room, quieter still. Inside, a single lamp burns. On the table rests an unfinished page. A scribe is here, older, calm, near the end of his work. He looks up as Thoth enters, not startled, only attentive. It feels as if he has been waiting, the way a musician waits for the last note to resolve. He dips his reed pen once more. He writes a line that is simple, not a boast, not a threat, a line of guidance, a line meant to be carried forward. And Thoth, the observer, leans in slightly as if to witness the exact shape of that sentence. Because sometimes one sentence, written clearly, travels farther than any army. Sometimes one gentle principle, copied faithfully, outlives entire empires. We will follow that principle soon, not with heavy names and dates, but with the feeling of continuity. How careful observation becomes method, how honest record becomes trust, how a feather becomes a quiet standard inside ordinary lives. For now, the scribe lifts his pen. Ink glistens for a moment, then dulls as it dries. The page is complete. The room falls into a deeper quiet, so deep it feels like the beginning of sleep. And in the next part, we will step out of this lamplight and into the long, soft migration of ideas, like moonlight moving across different roofs, always returning to the same lesson. The world stays steady when we practice steadiness. Just as your body can find sleep when you practice letting go. The lamp in the side room has burned lower now, and the ink on the last page has dried into a calm, matte darkness. For a moment, nothing moves. The scribe's hand rests. The reed pen lies on the table like a small branch set down beside a river. The air holds that warm, faintly sweet scent of oil and papyrus. Outside, the courtyard is still. Somewhere beyond the walls, the Nile continues its steady, unseen work. Thoth remains with you in that stillness, not as a figure demanding attention, but as a gentle idea that what is true can be held quietly, and that quiet holding is sometimes the strongest kind of strength. If you want, take one slow breath in, and as you exhale, imagine the last thought you were gripping, today loosening, just enough to let your mind feel a little wider. In the house of life, knowledge is copied, checked, tied with linen cord, and placed on shelves. But knowledge does not truly live on shelves. It lives in hands that return to it. It lives in eyes that look again. It lives in minds that practice careful attention year after year until attention becomes a culture. And this is where our story begins to widen, because Egypt did not keep its rhythms only for itself. Time, like water, travels. Ideas, like moonlight, move across many rooftops. Empires shift, languages change, and stones weather in the sun. But the habit of observing and recording can quietly survive, passing from one set of hands to another. Not in a loud parade, in small, faithful exchanges. Picture a scroll leaving the temple at dawn. A messenger carries it in a simple cloth wrap. He does not run, he walks. The world is pale and cool, and the sky is just beginning to brighten at the edge. The scroll is not a treasure in gold, it is a treasure in meaning, medical notes, a calendar correction, a list of measurements, a story that teaches balance. Across the river, another temple keeps its own house of life. Another scribe has his own lamp, his own reed pen, his own patient shoulders. He receives the scroll, opens it, and copies it, line by line, so the words can begin again in a new place. This is how the ancient world stayed connected. A sentence crossing water, a measurement crossing years, a principle crossing generations, and the principle at the heart of our story is simple. Observe carefully, record honestly, return to balance. It sounds small, and that is why it lasts. If the mind is tired, it can still hold something small, a feather, a scale, a line of ink. Later, the copied scroll may sit in a clay jar, sealed, safe from damp air. A woman who knows a little medicine might borrow a line from it when her child has a fever. A farmer might listen as a priest reads out the calendar, what day to begin a task, what day to pause and offer thanks. A builder might check a measurement before setting stone. None of them needs to understand the whole library. They only need the small piece that steadies their day. This is the quiet genius of record. It turns knowledge into shared ground. It answers the simple questions of living: who does what, when the waters rise, where a boundary should be, why a festival returns, how a remedy is prepared, without turning life into a lecture. In a world that can feel uncertain, the page becomes a gentle agreement. We will not rely only on memory because memory gets tired. We will let ink help us. If you have been carrying too much in your head, you can feel the kindness in that. Your mind was never meant to be a crowded room with every door open. It was meant to be a house with shelves, labels, corners, places where thoughts rest. In the courtyard, you step out into moonlight again. The air is cooler here. Your skin feels the night. The stars look clearer now, as if the sky has been rinsed. The moon hangs above the temple roof, and you can sense its slow movement, a quiet hand on a cosmic clock. Thoth looks up, and you feel an old comfort. The world has patterns you do not have to invent. You only have to notice them. If you have spent years trying to force life into shape, trying to control outcomes, trying to make feelings behave, trying to plan your way out of uncertainty, you might feel a gentle relief in that thought. Not everything must be solved tonight. Some things must simply be observed, named, and allowed to pass. This is the soft discovery that sits beneath Thoth's role in the weighing chamber. He records, but he does not accuse. He witnesses, but he does not shout. His power is the power of the observer, and the observer is calmer than the judge. If you like, you can try that for a moment right now. Notice the feeling in your chest. Notice the weight in your shoulders. Notice the pace of your thoughts. No fixing, no arguing. Just noticing kindly, as if you are sitting beside yourself on a quiet bank, watching your inner river move. In ancient Egypt, this kind of noticing was woven into daily life. The river was red, the sky was red, the calendar was tended, the temple lamps were trimmed, the ink was mixed, the papyrus was stored, the world was maintained. Maintenance as love. When you hear that phrase again, you may realize it is not only about temples and scrolls, it is also about you, because you maintain too. You maintain your home, your relationships, your work, your body, your hopes. Even when no one applauds, you keep returning to ordinary tasks that hold your life together. And if you have been exhausted, it may not be because you are weak. It may be because you have been maintaining too much alone. So tonight, let the story offer you companionship. Let it say, humans have always needed help holding the world steady. They built systems, they created rituals, they shared responsibility. They wrote things down so memory could be distributed, not carried by one tired mind. Thoth's pen is a symbol of distributed weight. A page can carry what the heart no longer needs to clutch. Centuries later, someone in another land watches the sky and learns to predict seasons. Someone keeps a ledger of trade and harvest. Someone copies a book because they sense it matters. The lamps change, the ink changes, but the quiet discipline remains. This is not the dramatic kind of history. It is the history of steadiness, and it is closer to your life than you might think, because your days are also made of small, repeated actions. You wake, you wash, you answer messages, you eat, you worry, you try again, you rest. Sometimes you feel as if you are doing nothing big, nothing worthy of being carved into stone, but the ancient world would understand you. They knew that a civilization is mostly built by ordinary people doing ordinary tasks with care. So if you have ever felt unseen, let this be a soft reassurance. The quiet roles matter, the quiet kindness matters, the quiet choosing of truth matters. Thoth turns from the courtyard and walks along a passage that leads toward the river again. You follow, and the sounds change. You hear the faint whisper of reeds. You smell wet earth. You feel the cool air that lives near water. At the Nilometer, the watcher's lantern still glows. He reads the waterline again, even though he read it earlier. Not because he doubts himself, but because he respects change. The river can rise in the night, the river can fall, so he checks, he writes, he returns. This is the gentlest form of vigilance, attention without panic. And it becomes another soft discovery. Sometimes the thing that keeps the world from slipping into chaos is not strength. It is a habit, a calm habit of checking in. How are the waters today? How is the heart tonight? What is true right now? Overthinking is a frantic checking that never feels satisfied. But the Egyptian habit is different. It is checking with humility, checking with patience, checking with the understanding that not everything can be controlled, but some things can be known enough to bring ease, known enough to sleep. The watcher makes one more mark on the board, then closes it gently. And in that small closing, you can feel an invitation to close the day, to close the inner board where you keep tallying worries, to trust that the night will hold the world for a few hours. If you want to bring one practical gift from this part of the story into your own life, it can be simple. Before sleep, choose one true sentence. Not a harsh sentence. Not a judge's sentence. A recorder's sentence. Something like, "Today was heavy and I am still here. Tonight I am allowed to rest. I did what I could. I don't have to carry tomorrow right now." Write it in your mind, slowly, like ink on papyrus. Then imagine tying that sentence with linen cord and placing it on a shelf. It will still be there in the morning if you need it. You don't have to hold it all night. The moon shifts a little higher. The river continues to breathe. The watcher's lantern dims, then steadies again, as if it, too, is learning the art of persistence. Thoth turns back toward the temple, toward the place where the feather waits, because the next room we enter is not only about observation, but about lightness, about how a life becomes easier when it stops trying to carry everything as proof of worth. We will go there slowly. For now, you can let your mind rest on the image of a page, clean, simple, honest, a small lantern in the dark, a quiet migration of knowing, traveling through time and arriving here, with you, in this night, so softly. The temple feels quieter now, not because the world has changed, but because you are listening differently. You return through the corridor with Thoth, past the warm pools of lamplight, past the shelves where papyrus sleeps in linen wraps, past the low tables where a reed pen rests like a branch laid down after a long day. Outside, the moon is still there. It has not moved much in any way your tired mind needs to track, yet it has moved enough to remind you of something gentle. Time does not rush, even when we do. The air tastes clean. The stone under your feet holds coolness like a calm hand. And in front of you again is the chamber of weighing. The scales are simple, the feather is small. Everything here feels unthreatening, like a room meant for honesty, not punishment. Thoth steps closer to the scale, stylus ready, and the atmosphere shifts into a kind of sacred ordinary, like the moment you straighten a blanket before bed, not because anyone is watching, but because the act itself makes the room feel more peaceful. In the old myth, this weighing matters greatly, but tonight we are not here to be frightened by it. We are here to let it teach us something soft, that the heart becomes lighter when it is allowed to be truthful. Not loudly truthful, no grand confession, no dramatic speech. Just truthful in the quiet way you can be at night when no one is asking you to perform. Imagine, for a moment, that the scale is not a judgment. It is a gentle tool. One side holds what you carry. The other side holds what you need to return to, a feather, balance, lightness, marked. It's almost funny in a tender way that the symbol of rightness is so weightless, as if the ancient Egyptians were saying, "Please, don't turn your life into something heavy just to prove you lived it." You can feel how that message lands in a modern body. Because modern life is full of invisible weights. Deadlines that follow you into dreams. Notifications that tug at your attention like small hands. Worries about money, health, family, time. And perhaps most exhausting, worries about your own mind, the endless reviewing, the replaying of conversations, the what-if loops, the quiet fear that if you stop thinking, something will fall apart. If that sounds familiar, you are not alone. Many people who listen to sleep stories do so not because they are weak, but because they are strong for too long. They hold the world steady for everyone else. They solve and plan and anticipate. Their minds are faithful workers, but faithful workers need rest. And the weighing chamber offers rest in an unexpected form. It separates you from your burdens for a moment so you can see them clearly without drowning in them. Thoth does not grab the burdens from you. He doesn't snatch or scold, he simply provides a place to set them down. So tonight, let your imagination do something soothing. Picture the things you've been holding one by one as objects you can place gently on the scale. Not all of them, just one. Choose the smallest one that still feels real. Maybe it's a worry about tomorrow morning. Maybe it's a sentence you keep replaying. Maybe it's the feeling that you haven't done enough. If you can't choose, that's okay. Let your mind choose for you. It often knows what is pressing most. Now imagine placing that worry on the scale. It doesn't explode, it doesn't become bigger, it simply sits there, separate from your body. And already you can feel the relief of separation, because much of anxiety is not the worry itself. It's the way we fuse with it. We become the worry, we become the loop, we become the pressure. But in this chamber, the worry becomes a thing you can look at. Thoth looks at it too without judgment. He watches the beam of the scale, and then this is the soft twist. He does not condemn the weight. He writes it down. As if to say, yes, this is real, I see it, it exists, and because it exists, it can be named. And because it can be named, it does not have to haunt you. There is a strange peace in being recorded, not in being exposed, in being witnessed. Sometimes what we want most is not advice, not solutions, not critiques, just someone or something to acknowledge what we carry. Thoth's act of recording is that acknowledgement. He is the calm witness. And in that calm, you might feel a question drift into your chest. What if you could be a calm witness to yourself? Not a judge, not a prosecutor, not a perfectionist, a witness, a small Thoth. Imagine it, a part of you that can sit beside your thoughts like a quiet scribe, writing without drama. This is sadness. This is worry. This is fatigue. This is hope. No argument, no shame, just clarity. This is a powerful shift for an overthinking mind, because overthinking is often a desperate attempt to control emotion by analyzing it. But witnessing is gentler. Witnessing lets emotion move, like the Nile, like breath. Like moonlight sliding across stone. In the chamber, the feather waits on the other side of the scale. It is so light that it almost doesn't seem fair. How could anything in a human heart match something so effortless? But that is the lesson. The goal was never to become heavy enough to prove you cared. The goal was to become light enough to live, to care without crushing yourself, to remember without drowning, to be responsible without becoming rigid, to love without turning love into anxiety. Thoth's stylus continues to move in the hush of your imagination. Soft scratch, soft pause, soft scratch again. The sound is like a lullaby written in tiny motions. Outside, the moon travels. Inside, the heart becomes quieter. And then another soft discovery rises, warm and steady. The world doesn't stay balanced because someone wins. It stays balanced because someone maintains. Someone checks the waterline. Someone copies the text. Someone corrects the calendar gently. Someone measures the stones. Someone trims the lamp wick. Someone notices. This is what kept Egypt from slipping into chaos, not constant triumph, but constant tending, and the tending was often done by ordinary people, scribes with tired eyes, watchers with patient hands, farmers who listened to the sky, mothers who measured grain, builders who checked alignment, people who practiced small honesty and small care, which means that the way you live, quietly, daily, matters more than you've been taught to believe. Your bedtime routines, your apologies, your small acts of kindness, your choice to speak gently to yourself. These are not small in the long view of time. They are the very fabric of balance. In the myth, the heart is weighed, but tonight, you can let the story become personal in a way that heals. What would it mean to weigh your day without harshness? Not, was I good enough? But, did I move even one step closer to balance? Did I tell the truth at least once? Did I allow myself any softness? Did I remember to breathe? And if the answer is no, you can be gentle, because the purpose is not to punish. The purpose is to return. Return is the most loving word in this whole story. Return to breath. Return to the body. Return to what matters. Return to lightness. If you like, take a slow inhale now, as if drawing air into the center of your chest. And as you exhale, imagine the feather touching the scale, not pushing, not forcing, just reminding the beam where center is. You might notice in your body how little it takes for a shift. A single long exhale, a softening of the tongue behind the teeth, a small release in the shoulders, a tiny unclench in the hands. The nervous system understands small signals. It doesn't need drama, it needs safety. And the chamber is built of safety. Steady light, steady shapes, steady symbols, feather, scale, stylus, truth that doesn't shout. Thoth steps back, and for a moment the room feels even more spacious, as if the air itself has made room for your rest. You leave the chamber with him and walk into an open courtyard where the night sky is vast again. The temple roof frames a rectangle of stars. The moon looks slightly higher now, quietly turning like an ancient clock hand. And here, under that sky, Thoth offers you one more gift, not as a command, but as an invitation. He invites you to practice a ritual that is small enough to do every night, not a ritual with incense and ceremony, a ritual with attention, a ritual with one sentence. In ancient Egypt, writing was a way to keep meaning from evaporating. And tonight, your mind can borrow that. Choose one sentence to record the day, just one. It could be, "Today was difficult and I'm still here." Or, "Tonight, I release what I cannot solve." Or, "I did what I could with what I had." Or even "I'm allowed to rest." Let the sentence be plain, let it be honest. Then imagine it written on a small strip of papyrus. Imagine rolling it gently, tying it with linen cord, and placing it on a shelf in the house of life. You can pick it up tomorrow if you need it, but tonight it can stay there, safe and quiet. You don't have to keep your thoughts spinning in your head to prove you care. Caring does not require exhaustion. Thoth seems pleased, not with pride, but with calm recognition. Because this is exactly how the ancients survived, by distributing memory, by turning panic into record, by turning uncertainty into ritual. And you can do the same in your own small way. If tonight's story reminded you of a beautiful memory, maybe a time you felt held by routine, or a night sky that made you feel small in a comforting way, feel free to share it below. And if you've been carrying too much lately, you can leave a gentle comment for yourself, not for anyone else, for you. A small lantern in your own dark. The courtyard grows quieter still, as if the whole temple is exhaling. The oil lamps inside have dimmed. The river beyond the walls is a soft, constant hush. And Thoth begins to guide you toward the final movement of the night, the slow descent into sleep, not by pushing you, but by letting your body remember what it already knows, how to let go, how to return, how to become light enough to drift. In the next part, we will step into the deepest hush of the story, the moment where the past doesn't feel like a distant museum, but like a gentle companion, where you can sense the long continuity of human tenderness across centuries without needing to hold it like a weight. Just enough to feel connected, just enough to feel safe. The courtyard has become a bowl of stillness. Above it, the moon keeps floating, unhurried, unbothered, like a pale thought that never learned to panic. The stars are sharp points stitched into the dark, and the air feels cooler now, as if the night has moved one step deeper into itself. If you're listening from a busy life, emails, schedules, errands, responsibilities that never quite finish, you can let all of that sit outside the temple walls for a while. You don't have to solve your week at midnight. You don't have to carry tomorrow's version of yourself into this hour. Tonight, you only have to breathe. Inhale, slowly, as if the breath is arriving from a distant shore. Exhale, slowly, as if you're letting the day slide off your shoulders like a cloak you no longer need. Thoth stands beside you, and in the soft light, his presence feels less like a myth and more like a mood. Calm attention, quiet honesty, the steady comfort of being witnessed without being examined. And perhaps that is the deepest gift the ancients offer a modern mind. Not answers, not arguments. A room where you can simply be. You begin to walk again, slowly, through the temple passageways. The stone corridors hold a gentle chill. Lamps burn low in wall niches, their flames moving in tiny, lazy gestures. Shadows lengthen and shorten like the breathing of a sleeping animal. As you move, you notice how the temple is built like a memory. Not a memory that shouts, but one that repeats. Pillars, carvings, symbols, a feather here, a scale there, a reed pen, a wave sign for water. Each image returning again and again, as if to say, you don't have to remember everything at once. You only have to return to the same few truths until they become part of you. In the modern world, we are often trained to chase novelty. New headlines, new updates, new tasks, new urgency. The mind becomes a room with too many doors opening at once. But here, the ancient rhythm is different. Here, meaning is not created by speed. It is created by repetition, done gently. And repetition is one of the most soothing things a human nervous system can feel. A heartbeat, a breath, the tide, a lullaby, a story told in a slow, steady voice. If your thoughts have been racing, you can let them borrow the temple's pace. Let them walk, not run. Let them settle into the predictable comfort of the same images returning. You pass the entrance to the House of Life again. The room is dimmer now. Most scribes have gone to rest. A few lamps still glow, but their circles of light are smaller, more intimate. You glimpse a single scribe cleaning his reed pen, wiping it carefully, as if he is tucking the tool into bed. He rolls a scroll and ties it with linen cord. Then, with a movement that feels almost like a prayer, he places it on a shelf among others. 1,000 nights of work resting side by side. 1,000 little acts of attention stacked like quiet bricks, and you feel in that image a soft reassurance. The world can be held, not all at once, but in pieces, in pages, in habits, in small returns. Thoth watches the scribe close the shelf and steps forward, as if inviting you to follow a more private path. The corridor narrows, then opens into a room you haven't seen yet. It is not grand, it is not full of objects. It is mostly empty, and that emptiness feels intentional, like a pause in music. In the center of the room, a shallow basin holds water. The water is dark, reflecting the lamp flame and the moonlight that slips in from a small opening above. The surface is still but not dead, alive in the way a sleeping lake is alive. None again. Not the wild, endless abyss of the creation myth, but a calmer echo of it, a reminder that beneath every busy surface there is a deeper quiet that has always been there. Thoth kneels beside the basin. He does not touch the water at first. He simply looks, and you realize that this, too, is a kind of writing. The moon writes on water with silver. The lamp writes on water with gold. The temple's shadows write on water with soft darkness. Everything is a record if you are slow enough to notice it. If you have ever worried that your life is disappearing too quickly, days blurring, years passing, moments slipping away, the water offers a gentle comfort. It says, time moves, yes, but movement doesn't erase. Movement rearranges. Movement carries things to places where they can rest. Your mind does this at night. While you sleep, it sorts, it shelves, it ties memory with linen cord and places it somewhere safer than your waking worry. That is why sleep matters, not as a luxury, as a maintenance ritual, as love. Thoth lifts his stylus slightly, and in your imagination you hear the faintest scratch, though there is no papyrus here. The sound is more like the idea of writing, the idea of naming what is true so it doesn't have to haunt you in silence. And then you feel the story's soft twist, not as a surprise, but as a small opening. What if the feather of Mart is not only a symbol in a temple? What if it is also the shape of a good exhale? A feather is light because it does not fight the air. It lets the air hold it. It surrenders to the current without losing itself. It moves, but it does not strain. Your exhale can be like that, not forced, not pushed, just allowed. Try it once now. Inhale, and let the inhale be ordinary. Exhale, and let the exhale be long, soft, unhurried, like a feather drifting downward until it finally rests. Notice how the body responds. The shoulders drop a fraction. The belly softens. The heart, for a moment, stops bracing. This is Mart in the body, the return to center. Thoth seems to understand. He does not demand that you fix your life tonight. He only invites you to practice returning to breath, returning to the present, returning to what is simple and real, because simplicity is not the enemy of depth. Sometimes simplicity is the doorway to it. In the water's reflection you see the moon again, and the moon's calm becomes contagious. It reminds you there are things bigger than your worries, but they are not here to crush you. They are here to put your worries in perspective, like a vast sky, making a small room feel less tight. A faint sound reaches you from somewhere outside the temple walls, the river brushing against reeds, a soft, continuous hush, and you remember the Nilometer steps disappearing into darkness, the watcher's lantern, the steady habit of checking in. That habit can be yours tonight too, but in a gentler form, not checking to find danger, checking to find truth. How am I really? What am I carrying? What can be placed down for a few hours? Outside the temple, beyond the walls, the village sleeps in small pockets of warmth. You can imagine it without needing to see it clearly. A clay jar near a doorway catching cool night air. A woven mat rolled close to a sleeping body. A donkey shifting its weight and letting out a quiet sigh. A mother pulling a blanket higher over a child without waking them. Even the dogs, usually alert, are softened tonight, their ears relaxed, their breathing slow. These small domestic sounds, barely sounds at all, are the true music of history. Not the trumpet, not the shout. The quiet life, continuing. In the house of life, scribes wrote so the world could remember. In your own life, you can write, mentally, quietly, so you can rest. If you want, choose one thought that keeps returning, like a restless bird in your mind. Don't chase it, don't argue with it. Simply name it. This is worry, or this is sadness, or this is tiredness, or this is the habit of replaying. Then imagine Thoth writing that label on a small strip of papyrus. roll it gently. Tie it with linen cord, place it on the shelf. You are not deleting the thought, you are giving it a place to rest so it doesn't have to keep flapping in the dark. The temple seems to approve of this kind of action. The lamps burn more quietly, the shadows soften. Even your own mind begins to feel less crowded. Thoth stands and leads you back into the courtyard. The sky is wider here. You can feel the world beyond the temple, the fields, the village, the river, sleeping under the same moon. And you realize another comfort. You are not the first person to be awake at night, hoping for peace. For thousands of years, people have looked at the same moon and felt the same longing. They have carried burdens, worried about seasons, tried to keep families safe, tried to make sense of time. They found ways to cope, not always perfectly, but faithfully, through routine, through record, through the quiet dignity of returning. So if you feel alone sometimes, let this thought be warm. You are part of a long human line of tired hearts learning how to rest. And in this line, no one rests alone. Every story from the past is a soft lantern in the dark, gently lighting our way tonight. If tonight's story has made your body feel even a little more peaceful, you can leave a gentle comment for yourself. Just a word like breathing, or lightness, or return. Something small, something that feels like a feather. Now, as we move toward the final descent of the night, let the images become simpler. Moon, water, a page on a shelf, a feather in the air, a long, slow exhale. And if your mind tries to pull you back into plans and problems, you can smile gently and return again, the way the moon returns, the way the river returns, the way the temple's symbols return. Because returning is enough. Returning is the practice. Returning is the path into sleep. Somewhere outside this story, the modern world is still doing what it always does. Streetlights hum. Refrigerators click on and off. An email sits unopened. A calendar quietly waits for morning. But here, inside the quiet courtyard of the temple, time has softened. The air feels cooler, cleaner, as if the night has rinsed away the sharp edges of the day. If your mind keeps trying to travel forward into tomorrow's meetings, tomorrow's chores, tomorrow's unknowns, you can let Thoth offer you something simple, a place to set those thoughts down gently without losing them. Because the ancient lesson has never been forget your life. The lesson has been hold it differently. The moon is high enough now that the shadows in the courtyard have changed shape. Pillars cast long, calm stripes across the stone floor. A low lamp by the doorway burns with a steady, patient flame, like a small heart that doesn't need attention to keep beating. Thoth stands beside you, and in this moment, he feels less like a distant figure and more like a quiet companion for any overworked mind. He does not ask you to be impressive. He does not ask you to be certain. He asks only that you notice what is true. And the truth for many people at night is this: the body is tired and the mind is still trying to finish the day. So let's do what the scribes did, not with ceremony, but with tenderness. Imagine a small table set under the temple's open sky. On it lies a narrow strip of papyrus, pale, soft, waiting. A reed pen rests beside it, its tip cut cleanly, ready to make one calm line. This table is not in a museum, it is in you. It appears whenever you pause long enough to listen. Thoth gestures, and you understand what he is inviting. Tonight, you don't have to solve your worries, you only have to name them so they can stop haunting you from the shadows. If you like, choose one thought that keeps returning. Just one, not the entire storm, only a single cloud. Maybe it is a worry about money. Maybe it is a worry about someone you love. Maybe it is the feeling that you should have done more, said more, been more. Or maybe it is the quiet fear that time is moving too fast and you're not sure what you're supposed to do with it. Whatever it is, you can bring it to the table. Now, very gently, imagine writing one short sentence about it. Plain, honest, unembellished. A scribe sentence. It might be, I am worried about tomorrow, or I feel behind, or I miss someone, or my mind is tired. Let the sentence be small enough to hold with ease. In your imagination, the reed pen touches the papyrus. The ink goes down like a soft shadow, and the moment it is written, something changes. The thought becomes a thing. It has edges. It has a place. Thoth watches without judgment. He does not turn your sentence into a verdict. He simply witnesses it the way moonlight witnesses the river. Then slowly, he invites you to write a second sentence, not about the problem, about your permission. Something like, tonight I can rest even if this is unfinished. Or, I do not have to carry everything in my chest. Or, I can return to this in the morning. This is not pretending. This is balance. This is Mart in a modern body. And if you notice resistance, if a part of you says, no, I must keep thinking or everything will fall apart, you can be gentle with that part too, because that part is trying to protect you. It learned somewhere along the way that vigilance equals safety. But the temple teaches a different kind of safety, the safety of rhythm, the safety of returning. Look up at the moon again. It does not stay full, it does not stay new. It does not panic when it changes, it simply returns over and over to familiar shapes. Your mind can learn to return too. Thoth leads you from the courtyard toward the river path once more. The temple walls fall behind you, and the air opens. You smell wet earth. You hear reeds whispering. The Nile's presence is near, dark, steady, breathing. At the Nilometer, the watcher's lantern still glows. He reads the waterline again, calmly. He makes a mark. He closes the board. Nothing dramatic happens, and yet because he checked, the village will sleep a little easier. Because he recorded, tomorrow will begin with a little more clarity. This is the softer discovery that feels almost like a secret. What keeps life from collapsing is often not heroism, it is maintenance. A small habit of noticing, a small habit of recording, a small habit of adjusting. In the modern world, we call this staying on top of things, but the ancient mood is gentler. It says, care for what you can, release what you cannot, return when you're able. You and the watcher stand quietly, listening to the water. The river is not hurried. It does not argue with itself. It moves because moving is what rivers do. And perhaps you can let your thoughts become more river-like tonight. Not forced, not fought, just allowed to flow. If you've been replaying the past, you can let it drift downstream for a while. If you've been gripping the future, you can let it float ahead without you chasing it. You can stay here on the bank, safe. Thoth turns back toward the temple, and you follow. As you walk, the night seems to soften further. Even the stars look less sharp, as if your eyes are getting heavier. Inside the temple again, you pass the House of Life. The door is mostly closed now. Only a thin line of lamplight slips out like a quiet promise that knowledge is still being tended. And this is where the story widens one more time, very gently. Because Egypt's temples would not last forever. No building does. No empire does. Even stone wears down. Even names fade. But the habit of observing and recording, does not belong to stone. It belongs to people. It travels, it migrates, it moves from reed pens to parchment, from parchment to bound books, from books to notebooks, from notebooks to small notes on phones. Somewhere far from the Nile, in a world of highways and glass buildings, a person is listening to this story right now. Maybe it's you. It might be late in an apartment where the city never fully sleeps. A lamp glows near a couch. In that modern room, the ancient ritual can still happen. Who is the scribe tonight? Not a priest, not a king, just a tired human being choosing one gentle act of care. What is being recorded? Not an empire, just one feeling, named honestly. Where does it happen? On paper? In a notes app? Or simply in the quiet of your mind? When does it happen? Right now, at the edge of sleep, when the heart is willing to soften. And why? So your nervous system can stop scanning the dark, so your breath can lengthen, so your inner river can flow without being dammed by worry. How? One sentence at a time? One exhale at a time? One quiet, soft return to center? Different tools. Same human need. To keep truth from slipping away. To keep life from becoming only noise. And now, quietly, Thoth offers you the most personal discovery of the night. You can be one of the keepers. Not a keeper of an empire, a keeper of your own balance. You can be the small Thoth who writes down what matters so your heart doesn't have to squeeze it all night. You can be the small Thoth who checks in with yourself without panic. You can be the small Thoth who returns to center when you drift. If you want, you can practice it right now with your body. Let your forehead soften. Let your tongue rest. Let your shoulders drop a fraction. Let your hands unclench. Take a slow inhale and a longer exhale. Imagine that longer exhale is the feather of Ma'at. It doesn't push, it doesn't shout. It simply reminds the scale where the center is. And if your thoughts come back, because thoughts will come back, you can treat them like visitors at the temple gate. You don't have to invite them in for a debate. You can nod gently and let them pass by. A thought arrives. You notice it. You record it silently with a simple label. Worry, memory, plan. Then you let it go. This is not ignoring your life. This is caring for it the way the Egyptians cared for the river, by observing without drowning. In a small side room, the last scribe closes a scroll and ties it with linen cord. He places it on the shelf. The shelf holds many such scrolls, each one a night's worth of patience. Then he lowers the lamp. The flame becomes smaller. The room becomes darker. And the darkness is not threatening. It is restful. As the temple settles, Thoth seems to settle too. His stylus is still. His attention remains, but it becomes softer, like the final minutes before sleep when the mind stops reaching. If tonight's story has helped you feel even a little lighter, you can leave a gentle comment for yourself. Just a word. Feather. River. Return. Or the name of the place you're listening from, so this quiet corner of the night feels warm with human presence. And if you want to take one small thing into tomorrow, let it be this. Truth doesn't need to shout. It only needs to be seen clearly and held gently. Now, the night is ready to deepen again. In the next part, we will let the story begin its final descent. The slow closing of shelves, the dimming of lamps, the quiet return to none. We will let the past become a soft blanket instead of a weight, and we will let you drift without effort towards sleep. Word count, part 9. 1700. Continue. Thought for 2 mils tens. The night has a way of closing doors quietly. Not with a slam, not with a final announcement, just a soft, steady dimming, until you realize you have stopped listening for footsteps in the hallway of your mind. In the temple courtyard, the moonlight has shifted again. The pillars still stand in their patient rows, but their shadows have become longer, smoother, as if even the stone is preparing to rest. A breeze passes through the open space and barely stirs the flame in a distant lamp. You can let your own body follow that cue. Let your shoulders settle lower than they were a moment ago. Let the muscles around your eyes soften, as if you are no longer scanning the dark for answers. Let your jaw unclench, and allow your tongue to rest in the quiet of your mouth. Thoth remains beside you, but his presence feels even gentler now, less like a guide and more like a calm atmosphere. A reminder that nothing here needs to be forced. You walk slowly toward the House of Life one last time. The door is mostly closed, and the line of warm light that used to spill into the corridor has become thin like a ribbon. Inside, the shelves are shadows with soft edges. Bundles of papyrus sit tied in linen cord, breathing quietly in the stillness. One scribe remains. He is older, his movements slow in the way of someone who has spent years practicing patience. He does not rush to finish. He simply completes what is in front of him, as if completeness is not an achievement, but a kindness. The lamp on his table is low. Its flame has shortened, its light warmer and softer. It makes the room feel like a small nest of calm inside the larger night. The scribe dips his reed pen. The ink is dark and steady, and with a hand that does not tremble, he writes a final line. Not a line meant to impress anyone. A line meant to keep something true from disappearing. Thoth watches without speaking, and you can almost hear the sound that lives between them. The whisper of the pen, the quiet scratch that says, yes, this happened, yes, this mattered, yes, this is real. When the line is finished, the scribe pauses. He looks at the page as if listening to it. Then he rolls it gently, slowly, careful not to crease it, careful not to hurry the ending. He ties the scroll with linen cord. One small knot, a simple closure. And in that knot there is a lesson you can borrow tonight. The day can be closed without being solved. Some days cannot be solved. They can only be carried to a shelf and allowed to rest. The scribe stands and places the scroll among many others. He does not stack it carelessly. He slides it into a space that fits, as if the shelf itself has a shape for it. Then he closes the cabinet door. Wood meets wood with a soft sound, a quiet finality that feels strangely comforting. Thoth turns and you follow him out of the House of Life and back into the corridor. The lamps here are dimmer now too. Their flames are lower, more private. The air is cooler. The temple seems to be breathing slower. You pass the weighing chamber again. The feather of Mart rests where it always has, as light as a thought you no longer need to chase. The scales sit still, the beam balanced, and you notice something tender. The feather does not demand that you be perfect. It only reminds you that lightness is possible. If your mind has been heavy with should and must, you can let the feather take one small burden off your chest tonight. Just one. Not forever, only for a few hours. You walk back into the open courtyard. The sky is wide above you. The moon looks calm and familiar, a pale witness to countless nights like this one. Nights when someone, somewhere, tried to find peace inside their own thoughts. The Nile murmurs beyond the walls, and the sound is so steady it begins to feel like a lullaby. In, out, in, out. If you want, you can let your breath match that rhythm. Inhale, slowly, comfortably. Exhale, longer than the inhale, as if you are letting your whole nervous system know it can stop standing guard. Overthinking often feels like love in a tight grip. The mind believes that if it worries enough, it will prevent loss, prevent failure, prevent pain. But worry is not the only way to love. Sometimes love is gentle. Sometimes love is letting the heart rest so it can keep beating tomorrow. Thoth, the observer, seems to understand this. He never asked the river to be something else. He never asked the moon to stay full. He never demanded that the year be perfectly smooth. He watched, recorded, adjusted, returned, return again. That is how balance survives. And now, if you imagine the village beyond the temple walls, you can sense it settling too. A door closes softly in a small home. A blanket is pulled higher over a sleeping shoulder. A clay jar of water cools beside a doorway. A dog sighs and stops listening for danger. Nothing here is trying to win the night. Everything is simply letting the night be night. Somewhere far from the Nile, in a modern room, the same quiet can begin. A street outside might still be lit. A building might still hum with electricity, but inside your space the lights can dim in your mind, the day can become a scroll, the worries can become ink that dries. You might even picture a small shelf within you, a private house of life. On it you can place unfinished conversations, unanswered questions, tasks that will wait until morning. Even old memories that keep returning, not because they want to hurt you, but because they want to be seen. Tonight, you can see them kindly and then you can let them rest. The images become simpler, as if the night is carefully removing anything that could wake you. Moon, water, a page on a shelf, a feather in still air. And in that simplicity, a gentle question arrives, not to wake you, only to soothe you. If you could leave one kind thing for your future self, what would it be? It might be a note, it might be a bedtime routine, it might be the decision to stop punishing yourself for being human, it might be the permission to rest. You do not need to answer with effort. Let your mind offer a small response, the way a river offers a ripple. Thoth begins to walk toward the river path one last time. Outside the temple, the air is cooler, the sky is open, the reeds whisper at the edge of the Nile. The water is dark and patient, holding moonlight in broken pieces. At the Nilometer, the watcher's lantern is almost out. The flame is tiny now, but it still burns. The watcher checks the waterline, one last glance. He makes a small mark, he closes the board, and then, very gently, he lowers the lantern. The light shrinks to a glowing dot, then to a soft ember, then to darkness. Not a frightening darkness, a natural darkness. A darkness that says the checking is done, the recording is done, tonight can be left alone. You and Thoth stand in that darkness for a moment, listening. The river continues, the night continues, the world continues, and nothing is asking you to do anything. This is the deepest kind of rest, the moment when the mind stops negotiating with reality and simply allows it to be. If your thoughts try to return, if they flutter like small birds at the edge of sleep, you can be kind to them, you don't have to chase them away. You can name them and let them pass. Thought, memory, plan, worry, label like a scribe. Then place it on the shelf. Thoth turns back toward the temple, but his steps are slow and the direction feels less important now. The story is not trying to take you somewhere else. It is trying to bring you home. Home to your breath, home to your body. Home to the simple truth that you are allowed to sleep. As you walk, the moonlight softens your path and the temple behind you becomes quieter, like a memory settling into its place. And somewhere deep inside you, a small cabinet door closes with a soft sound. Wood meets wood, day meets night, thought meets silence. Before we go, linger with the body once more, slowly, kindly. Let the forehead smooth as if warm water is washing it from the inside. Let the space behind your eyes feel spacious and dark, like the quiet between stars. Let your shoulders drop as if you are placing down a heavy bag you forgot you were holding. Let your hands rest open, palms loose, fingers not gripping anything. If you notice any tightness in your chest, you do not have to pry it open. Just breathe into it like moonlight. Soft, steady, not demanding. And on the exhale, imagine the feather of Mart drifting across that tightness, reminding the scale to return to center. Somewhere in the temple, the last lamp is being lowered. The flame becomes smaller and smaller until it is only a warm point, like a distant window in a sleeping city. The shadows become wide and gentle and safe. Even the carved symbols on the walls seem to blur, as if the stone itself is closing its eyes. This is how nights have always ended. Not with a conclusion, but with a quiet surrender to the rhythm that will come again. And if you can't feel light yet, that's okay. Even a small softening is enough. The night will do the rest, gently, while you sleep. In the next part, we will let the story become even quieter, more like a lullaby than a narrative, until the images dissolve into the gentle darkness of Nun, and you can drift without effort, without finishing anything, without proving anything at all. The temple has grown quieter than it was before, as if the walls themselves have learned the art of letting go. The lamps are low now, their flames no longer reach for the ceiling. They stay close to the oil, small and steady like a sleepy heartbeat. The corridors hold more shadow than light, and the shadow feels gentle, soft-edged, forgiving, patient. Outside, the moon keeps moving in its calm way. It doesn't ask you to notice it, yet it offers the same comfort it offered to the first watchers by the Nile, a reliable return. If your mind is still awake in places, that's okay. You don't have to force sleep. You can simply let the story become quieter until your thoughts follow it the way reeds follow the current. Thoth stands with you at the edge of the courtyard. His stylus is still. His presence feels like a quiet hand on the back of your mind, reminding it that tonight is not for solving. Tonight is for resting. You can imagine that the entire day, everything you carried, has been rolled into a scroll. Not to hide it, not to deny it, only to place it somewhere safe. A shelf inside you, a small house of life. You don't have to decorate this shelf. It can be simple, like a wooden board in a quiet room. It can be dark, like a corner of a library after closing hours. The only important thing is that it exists, somewhere you can set things down. As you breathe, the shelf becomes more real. Inhale and notice the air entering like cool river wind. Exhale and imagine a scroll being placed on the shelf, tied with linen cord, finished for the night. One scroll. That is enough. The temple's sounds fade into a softer layer, a distant lamp crackling once, a tiny shift of wood, the faint sigh of the night air. The Nile's hush is there too, beyond the walls, steady, unhurried, like the world's long exhale. Thoth begins to walk, and you follow without effort, as if your feet have become lighter. He leads you not to a new discovery now, but to an older comfort, the beginning that is also a resting place. Nun. Not the frightening kind of emptiness, the kind that holds possibility, the kind that does not demand you become anything, the kind that lets you simply exist. You pass through a narrow corridor and enter the small room with the basin of water again. The water is darker now. The lamp above it is dimmer, and the moonlight slipping in from the opening overhead is softer, more silver than before. The surface is almost still. Almost. If you look closely, you can see a small movement, barely a ripple, caused by your own breathing, your own presence, your own life continuing. Thoth kneels beside the basin and looks into it the way a scribe looks at a page, not searching, not judging, just witnessing what is. And in that reflective water you might see, for a moment, a calm version of yourself, not perfect, not finished, just calmer. A person who has permission to rest. The ancient story becomes very simple here. The moon is above, the water is below. Between them, a human heart learns to become lighter. Not by doing more, but by releasing what it cannot hold. This is the moment where the feather of Mart changes from a symbol into a sensation. A feather is not strong because it resists air. It is strong because it cooperates with air. It allows the current to carry it. It drifts, it turns, it falls, and it is still itself. You can let your breath be like that. Inhale gently. Exhale gently, longer, softer, like a feather descending, until it finally rests. If your thoughts arrive during the exhale, you don't need to push them away. You can label them softly, like Thoth would. Thought, memory, plan, worry. Then let them drift the way a feather drifts. The basin holds the moon's reflection in broken pieces, a small shimmer, a small silver line, a tiny, moving light that never becomes sharp enough to hurt your eyes. And that becomes a message too. You don't have to hold the whole moon at once. You only hold what fits on the water. You don't have to hold the whole world at once. You only hold what fits in this breath. Thoth lifts his stylus, not to write on papyrus, but to write in the air of your imagination. He makes no sound, yet you can almost hear the quiet scratch of calm. He writes a sentence that feels like a lullaby, the kind of sentence that doesn't try to convince you of anything, only offers you a place to land. The sentence is simple. Return. Return to the body. Return to the breath. Return to what is true right now. You can let that word float through you like moonlight. Return. If you have been living in the future, return. If you have been living in the past, return. If you have been living in a long hallway of what if, return. The body is here. The bed is here. The night is here. You don't have to go anywhere else. And if you come from a busy life, screens and meetings, traffic and time zones, the quiet pressure to always be reachable, then let this be a tender contrast. Picture your modern day for a moment as if you're watching it from far away. A desk lamp glowing over paperwork, a coffee cup cooling beside a keyboard, a phone lighting up with a message, then going dark again, a commute with familiar streets and familiar thoughts, all of it real, all of it human. And now imagine setting that whole day down the way a scribe sets down his pen, slowly, respectfully, without blame. You can care about your life and still let it rest. That is what makes you sustainable. That is what makes you gentle. That is what makes tomorrow possible. If you need something to do with your hands in your mind, let it be this gentle closing. First, relax the forehead, as if warm water is smoothing it from the inside. Then soften the space behind your eyes, allowing it to become dark and wide, like the quiet between stars. Let your jaw unclench and let the tongue rest, heavy and peaceful, as if it has nothing left to explain. Allow your shoulders to drop, not all at once, but by degrees. One small release, then another. Notice your chest. If it feels tight, don't pry it open. Just breathe into it, and on the exhale, imagine a little space forming, like a window cracked open to cool night air. Let the belly soften. Let it rise and fall without being held in. Let the hips feel supported, as if the earth is holding them. Let the legs feel long and warm, the calves unwinding, the knees no longer braced. Let your feet grow quiet, as if they have walked far enough, and now they are simply allowed to be still. And if a thought appears during this slow scan, you can treat it the way the scribes treated ink, with calm attention, not fear. Name it once, worry, memory, plan, and place it on the shelf. You don't have to wrestle it. You only have to give it a place. Here, no one rests alone. Even in silence, you are accompanied by the moon that has watched countless tired hearts, by the river that keeps breathing, and by this old human practice of returning to balance with gentleness. In the temple, the last lamp is being lowered. The flame shrinks and the room changes. Shadows widen, edges blur. The world becomes less detailed, more forgiving. This is what sleep does. It softens the sharp corners of thought. It allows the mind to sort and shelve without you supervising. While you sleep, your brain becomes a house of life, tying memories with linen cord, placing them where they belong, returning order without noise. You are not failing when you sleep. You are maintaining. Maintenance as love. Let that phrase be warm. Somewhere near the river, the watcher is asleep now too. The Nilometer steps are hidden in darkness. The waterline still exists, whether anyone reads it or not. The river continues its patient movement, like time continuing, whether you think about it or not. You don't have to keep thinking to keep life moving. Life moves on its own. The moon moves on its own. The river moves on its own. And you, tonight, can rest inside that larger movement. If you want a final image to carry you down, let it be gentle and small. Imagine a single scroll on the shelf. It contains one sentence from your day, whatever sentence feels true. It might be, I tried. It might be, I'm tired. It might be, I loved someone. It might be, I did enough. The scroll is tied. It will not unravel. It will wait for morning. Now imagine the cabinet door closing softly, not with a lock, with kindness. The way you close your eyes, the way the city closes its lights one window at a time, the way the temple closes its lamps until only the moon remains. Thoth stands and steps back from the basin. He does not say goodbye loudly. He doesn't need to. His gift is already inside you, the calm habit of observing without panic, the gentle practice of recording without judgment, the quiet return to balance. And because you are human, you will forget sometimes. You will carry too much sometimes. You will overthink sometimes. But you can also return again and again, like the moon, like the river, like the breath. If tonight's story has helped you feel even a little more peaceful, you can keep that peace small. You don't have to protect it with effort. You can let it be like a feather resting on still air. And now, without rushing, let the images thin out. The temple becomes a silhouette. The corridor becomes a soft shadow. The basin becomes a dark mirror. The moon becomes a pale blur. The river becomes a hush. None becomes a wide quiet. And you can drift there. No proving, no finishing, no holding, only resting. The story is becoming quieter now, not because anything is missing, only because the night is doing what it has always done, making room for sleep. The temple is mostly shadow. The lamps are nearly gone, their flames lowered until they are only a memory of warmth. The corridors feel farther away, as if you are hearing them through water. The carvings on the walls have softened into shapes rather than details, like images seen with half-closed eyes. Outside, the moon remains. It does not hurry, it does not insist. It simply keeps its gentle appointment with the sky. And somewhere beyond stone walls and reeds, the Nile continues to breathe. In, out, in, out. If you would like to follow the river's rhythm one last time, you can. A slow inhale, like cool air entering quietly. A long exhale, like the day leaving your body without resistance. You don't have to reach for anything now. The story has already placed its gifts in your hands, the way ancient people placed small offerings on a quiet altar, not to impress a god, but to honor the simple truth that life needs tenderness. Feather, scale, stylus, a page, a shelf, a return. Thoth is still near you, but even his presence is fading into the calm, like a friend sitting beside your bed, saying nothing because you don't need words anymore. He has done what he came to do. He has reminded you that truth does not need to shout. It only needs to be seen clearly and held gently. And if you are tired, truly tired, the gentlest holding is letting go. So let the last images become even simpler. Imagine the house of life one final time, It is dark now, the door is closed. Inside, shelves hold scrolls tied with linen cord. They rest in neat bundles, protected from damp air and from forgetting. Each scroll contains a day, a measurement, a hymn, a remedy, a principle, small human efforts to keep the world steady. In the corner of that room, a single page lies on a table. It is the last page the scribe was working on. The ink has dried. The reed pen rests beside it, no longer needed. This is the image of completion. Not a grand completion, not a perfect ending, a quiet completion. Enough for tonight. The scribe is gone to sleep. The watcher by the Nilometer is asleep. The village is asleep. Even the cats on the temple walls have curled into stillness. The world is not being supervised right now, and it is still turning. That is one of the softest comforts you can carry. The world can keep going while you rest. You do not have to keep thinking to keep life moving. Life moves, the river moves, the moon moves, breath moves, and you are allowed to ride that movement into sleep. If you have a thought that still clings, one last worry, one last plan, there is a gentle place to set it down. Imagine Thoth's table under the open sky again, a narrow strip of papyrus, a reed pen, no pressure. You can write just one line, not tonight, not as denial, as permission, not tonight. Tomorrow can have its own hour. Tonight belongs to the body. Tonight belongs to rest. Now imagine rolling that strip into a tiny scroll. Tie it with linen cord, place it on the shelf. Close the cabinet door softly. Wood meets wood, a simple sound that tells the nervous system. The day is closed now. Let the body settle deeper. Forehead smooth, eyes heavy, jaw loose. Shoulders dropping as if the last strap of a heavy bag has slid off, chest quiet, belly soft, hands open, fingers not gripping, legs long and warm, feet calm as if they have stopped listening for anything. If you notice any place still tight, you do not have to fix it. You can simply breathe toward it and let the breath be kind. Inhale like moonlight arriving. Exhale like a feather drifting down. Feather. The feather of Mart returns one last time, not as a symbol on a wall, but as a feeling in your exhale. A feather is the opposite of forcing. It is the art of letting the air do the work. You can let the air do the work now. You can let gravity do the work. You can let the bed do the work. You can let the night do the work. And if you find yourself wondering, am I falling asleep yet? You can smile gently at that thought. It's a human thought, a caring thought. Then let it go. Sleep is shy. It comes more easily when it is not chased, so we won't chase it. We will simply make the space welcoming. The temple becomes a silhouette in the distance. The courtyard becomes a pool of moonlight. The river becomes a hush. The stars become soft points. None becomes a quiet vastness, not empty, but patient. Everything returns. Return. That word again, soft, simple. Return to breath. Return to the body. Return to this moment. Return to the way the night holds you without asking anything in return. And now, as the final movement of the story arrives, you can let the voice in your mind become smaller. You can let the images fade like a lamp being lowered, dimmer, dimmer, until only the feeling remains. The feeling of being accompanied, the feeling of being allowed, the feeling of being safe enough to rest. If tonight's story brought you calm, leave a gentle comment for yourself. Don't forget to subscribe for more peaceful nighttime journeys. Where are you listening from tonight? Leave a comment. Your presence adds warmth to this quiet corner of the night. And now, softly, we let go. A last page turns in the house of life, just once, its papyrus whispering like a final exhale. Then the page settles. The shelf holds its scrolls. The cabinet door is closed, the moon continues, the river continues, and you can sleep.